Toycember continuing with very familiar territory. So I actually did review the G1 Blitzwing toy way back when with a very random review. But since then, I have managed to pick up the Platinum Edition, which is a really interesting color scheme to me and a fascinating look to the toy. So I figure it's been a long time. I can get away with reviewing the same toy twice. So let's go and take a look at what they did to my boy Blitzwing. So the color scheme has always thrown people off about this figure. It's a maroon, red, and then brown color scheme mixed together, and we're never quite sure exactly where the color scheme came from or why they randomly threw these colors together for the Platinum Edition 2-pack with Astro Train. Now, the large majority of the fandom has accepted the fact that this is probably an homage to Flywheels, the G1 Duocon, who had the same two vehicle modes and shared these colors. I have that Duocon, unfortunately. I don't know where it is at the moment, or I would do the comparison. But either way, that's the prevailing theory. Now, we still don't know where the orange and Astro Train came from, but for now, I will say it's actually not a bad look. It does kind of come across a little bit thrust in the colors this way, like you mixed thrust and dirge together somehow, but I don't know. It actually kind of works, you know? And I will explain why in a bit, but for starters, we will focus on the fact that, yes, it's the jet mode you expect from Blitzwing, where, yeah, it has some familiar elements. It does look jet enough, but it's also exceptionally bulky in the wrong spots, to the point where it does, like as a kid, I thought this was a four-winged jet because of all of this undershell that will become the tank. It's just me as a kid trying to just explain it via imagination. But I don't know what it is. Yes, it's very unaerodynamic, but I still kind of like the look of it, not going to lie. You see the stickering up at the top. You got the intake stickers right here. You have a little bit more of traditional stickers here that look, that's where his chest is going to be. So it's just silver and red and yellow, looking nice. Lots of Decepticon symbols. We've got two big ones over here and an upside down one that is, again, will be right side up for the chest. You have wings with arrows on them, in case you needed to know what direction the wings were pointing toward. You know, it's not enough that the wings point themselves. You have to point on top of the pointing wings. A little bit of stickering there on the side, add a little bit of red to the deco, and then gold for the canopy on the cockpit. It's a good-looking piece. Like, I don't know why I like the colors as much as I do. I just do. Now, weird things about this particular mold. Number one, on the Platinum Edition, the missiles, which unfortunately I do not have. This was a secondhand piece. These are non-functional. You will not be able to fire them. The trigger would be right here if you were so curious. And also, the odd thing about the way this mold works is because of the weight, especially because there's a bunch of die cast in this side of the toy. In order to actually stay balanced in jet mode, you have to have the turret pushed all the way to the back and rotated in this direction, meaning the gun barrel just kind of sticks out the back. And that's one of the oddities to the design. Oh, also you can just start seeing tank tread if you turn to the back as well. But I still like the overall look of the jet. Let me get him transformed so we can judge the tank mode. And it's G1, so we're not going to have to try too hard on transforming this toy, as I very carefully unclip to make sure I don't break anything on this figure. Go ahead and swing those to the side, clip down right there. I'm going to fold up the tail fins into the body like that. And then we just rotate the turret around, extend the barrel, and now we are in his tank mode. Nice, smooth, quick transformation from one to the other. Can't really complain about that. And now we have this very Japanese-style tank to work with. I do like how solid the brown is. Despite the triple changing nature, most of the red has tucked away. It's a little bit odd in some spots. A little bit odd to see a red trim underneath this one tread. A little bit odd to see like little patches of red on top, but for the most part, the brown is very dominant, and at the very least, Definitely looks the part of like a more desert-oriented tank. Not that you'd get that in Japan, but there you go. The weird thing about this tank mode has always been the fact that the cockpit of the jet mode has been available and visible in the front. We've never been able to do anything with that, and at this point, it's cartoon accurate to include it. The real tank that this is modeled after, which I do not remember the model name of, does not have that, to say the least. But you can see as a tank, you do have wheels on the underside, so it can roll if you so choose. Also, the barrel does still like go short or long, depending on how you want, and then full rotation all the way on the turret. So yeah, you play with it the way you would expect to play with a tank toy, and it makes a pretty nice one. Though admittedly, I could really use some stickering or paint across the side here. Obviously, on a G1 toy, that's not going to necessarily be a thing, but this was a platinum release. They could have done a little bit extra just to give him a little bit of a splash of color. Just make all of this stand out a little bit, just for the sake of, covering it up. And actually you taking advantage of all these details in here. But yeah, not too bad. I don't mind this too much. Okay, let me get to the robot mode. Okay, so we got to unclip this again. I'm going to push up on these sections to unclip them, just to make it a little bit smoother and keep from breaking anything. Go over, and that can clip back into place. Now, to get everything else, you have to start shuffling around the turret. There's some little grooves underneath that allow you to slide it around. Basically, we just need to get it into position to clear so that we can rotate these big hunks out of the way. Take the toy all the way over. You can see he's almost done already. So, I'm going to pull his arms out like so. Flip down the tail fins to act as his feet. And then we need to get the arms out, and this is the fun part. If you have fingernails at the ready, just kind of pull them out like so, and then pull the arms out like that. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky if you don't have thumbnails ready to go. But that's the transformation to the robot mode. And yeah, again, very simple and quick. It's G1. What do you expect? But the overall result is a fascinating little take on Blitzwing. We got a really cool looking cartoon model out of this blocky boy. The look has always been odd because it's just these arms sticking out from this big space of flat panels, so you're never going to fix that. But I don't know, there's some little bit of charm to it, and it's still basically what G1 toys did no matter what. So, taking a look at the head, you see it is now, instead of that bright yellow helmet that he normally has, we've got this more subdued brown. It blends in with the rest of the body better. Red visor. Now you can see those right side up details on the chest. This is the part where I tell you my headcanon for the design. Do you remember in 5 Faces of Darkness, Part 5, where he actually turns down Rodimus Prime's offer to join the Autobots? I always kind of depict this as Blitzwing's Autobot color scheme, if he had actually accepted Rodimus Prime's offer. And it does look far more heroic. It does look more along the lines of what an Autobot would wear, especially because the red is very dominant, and it has a much, it's a more prominent appearance. Like, I like the overall look for that reason. But even then, it's still a curious color scheme on the toy. I can also just reach over here and grab my OG Blitzwing, so you can take a look at how different the two ended up being. The big thing you notice when the two are side by side, the waist on the original is painted, and you also had different color for the thighs. But the contrast is on the Platinum version, a painted face that helps that stand out a lot better. Overall, the head ends up being a little bit more distinct on that one, I find. So yeah, interesting little differences between the two. So let me get him back out of the way. There's your official comparison for this review. Yeah, as you can see, play-wise, the arms move up and down, and that's about it for the articulation. Of course it is. It's G1. It's a 40-year-old toy. And, that's all you really needed back then. You do have weapon accessories, so I can go ahead and plug those in. The other weird thing about this toy has always been the fact that the hands are plugged in sideways, and that is probably because of the way the toy is engineered. That slide joint is on the inside of the forearm, which means the hole also has to be on the inside of the forearm because that's how the toy piece is molded. This was primitive tech. They couldn't do a groove over here and then one on top for the fist hole, which they could probably accomplish now. But that said, we plug in from the side, and that is his laser rifle. It's actually a pretty neat design. I like how his overall gun looks. And then I'm going to lower that and raise up the arm so I can plug his sword into the other arm. Sword weapons on limited articulation characters, always interesting. I do like this sword design as well. It's very vicious if you imagine those hooks digging into something and ripping it open. But in red, it comes across a little bit Dinobot sword-ish, which is not really a detraction. It's just more just like my personal observation. But that said, Platinum Edition Blitzwing, this is still a fun little toy. Like, I like how fast the conversions are. I do overall like the look of the two modes. Despite, yeah, it's a very boxy, heavy-looking jet. The oddities of the robot mode are still weird. You know, the tail fins for feet, I wish were a little bit thicker, and I wish, like, he was a little bit less bulky in the torso. But he comes across pretty well overall. I still quite like him, and I don't know why the Flywheels colors work on him. They just do. So that is my look at Platinum Blitzwing, or the just general G1 Blitzwing if you prefer. So that will be it for today's Toycember. Tune in tomorrow. I don't want to do another Transformer because I've been heavy on those lately. You'll see what I've got in mind, though.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.